This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, it is February the 26th and it is 2 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting of the Infrastructure Committee to order. And can we have a roll call, please?
Councilor Odessa,
Here.
Councilor Johnson,
Here.
Councilor Arnold,
Yes, present.
Councilor Kevin.
Present. And then can I have a motion for approval of the agenda? So moved. You got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented or any changes that anybody wants to make?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve as presented. Second. You got a second. Any discussion? If not, the minutes are approved as presented. And so we'll go on to non-action item, project updates discussion. Do we have any questions for Louis and his department?
What we'll show some slides on some projects, and James and I are going to be tag teaming.
Yeah, so the first slide there, the first couple pictures are from the dewatering project at the wastewater plant. So you can see the asphalt driveway in the front's been paved. And on the right, you can see some of the sidewalk that's been done. Also, the landscaping subcontractor is going to be in this week to do work on the landscaping around it. So that project's coming along.
The Mescalero Bridge, I don't know if you guys, everybody can see it. This is a drone flight. There you go. What they did, they formed all the wing walls and they poured it all with the pump truck. Put them over here pumping. But now we're gonna start working on the roadway, getting that much closer.
What do you anticipate being able to start crossing?
Oh, yeah. But we got some drone flights and we've got a history. In the other project, we'll put a little film together just for fun.
When are you anticipating it being in use? A month, 2 months,
Probably at the end of March.
into March?
Yes, sir.
And then Atkinson, the water lines have been completed from Cherry to Peach. Now constructors working on the roadway from Cherry to Peach. So what we're planning to do, as soon as constructors has that piece paved, we'll reopen that piece of Atkinson. So here in hopefully 4 to 5 weeks, that piece will be reopened and will just be closed from Peach to College until we finish that last piece.
Still no through traffic, but at least the neighborhood gets a little bit more access.
The other thing I was going to bring up on projects, I didn't put a slide for it, but our Safe Streets for All action plan. Our public survey is open right now. So there's a link on the city's Facebook page as well as the city website to do our public survey to identify any safety traffic issues on our roadways. So I'd encourage everybody to do the survey. And if anybody's so inclined, share that on your media, social medias as well to help get the word out and get some more people to do that survey. Also going forward with our Safe Streets for All, the notice of funding opportunity for implementation money is open. So what we've seen in that so far that FHWA is looking for implementation projects is larger multi-million-dollar projects with an 80-20 split. So 80% FHWA money, 20% match. So what we're thinking about doing is putting in the budget for roughly a $5 million total project, which $4 million would be FHWA funds, which would require a $1 million match from the city.
Is that the limit of
They're
things we can, I mean, what is is it capped at $1 limit?
capped at 25 million. So I don't think we'll have anything that'll rise to that kind of funding level.
We won't have the money anyway.
I know, man, but just wondering.
Well, so far what the plan has brought up and the survey and our consultant. Also, there's a public input meeting that we're reaching out to the schools, and we have PTA for Rendell Elementary today at 5:30. But interesting, there's been 38 accidents with injuries on College between Main Street and Union. One, I think a couple more past towards Montana. So that corridor is surfacing with all the data coming up. The other thing is, and we've discussed this over and over, I remember putting in applications with the DOT, fixing the McGaffey and Main Street intersection, making it a four-legged intersection. So that one's popped up with all the safety data there. So the Safe Streets for All is looking at all the accidents, looking at all the injuries, all the fatalities, and the consultant is highlighting these high areas, high incident areas. So then we'll have, and you guys will be presented next month. You're going to start seeing presentations from the consultant. Just giving you a preview, and then hopefully March you'll have a presentation with the consultant, and then a preliminary draft, a resolution to go to council in April. Because this is one of those projects that the money is hurry up and use the money. So we're going through all this stuff. What we're happy about is Freese Nichols out of Fort Worth, Dallas. They've done lots of these, and they're a big national firm. And I mean, this project is really moving fast. They'll get to the point that council will have to look at it, and you guys decide yay, nay, or whatever you think.
Louis, you've looked at this where you just described the College between Maine and Union. Where are you seeing most of the accidents and things?
I haven't seen the data, but talking with James, what they're suggesting, and if you've driven that stretch, and we all have, especially going out.
I drive it every day, 2 or 4
So
times.
they're looking for a consistent, typical section from Maine all the way to Montana, which is in essence widen it. And then you would widen it to have the lanes, the bicycle lanes, and the sidewalk.
So you're talking about making that 4 lanes?
Turning lanes, just turning lanes or 4 lanes?
No, 4 lanes. They don't like this. They don't like the suicide lane, do they?
No.
Right. Well, because I know people get impatient. People are turning south onto Missouri or onto Lee or onto Kentucky, and you have people that are going west that get impatient and dodge around, whether it's into the area in front of the old, the warehouse for the school district.
Yeah, right there, Lee Street.
But I mean, that was on the paper Sunday where the kids were out there selling lemonade stuff right there in that area. But I mean, it's just a patience with our drivers, but then trying to get on to College from Richardson or from Pennsylvania, I mean, it can be difficult, especially off of Richardson, because you got people that pull up trying to go right, go east, and then people that are trying to go, like I said, I drive that.
Yeah, College gets a lot of traffic. But that's one of the things they're looking at. Another interesting one that they're looking at, of course, this has been the topic with the DOT for 40 years now. We have too many lights in the downtown area. So one of them they're looking at is possibly as a demo project, 3rd Street, close 3rd Street from Main to each alley, and turn that light pedestrian activated only. But again, all these kind of ideas are going to be presented by the consultant, just giving you just a heads up. But I'm impressed with what this consultant's coming up with. But
It's all data driven though.
it's all data driven. It's all data driven.
Are they also looking at bike trails and stuff along with the streets?
Bike trails, pedestrian fatalities, everything. And on that survey, get on that survey, they're asking questions about pedestrians. They're asking about bicycle trails. They're asking, where do you think are the 3 worst streets in the city? Where do you think we need more safety? So if you have a Facebook page or whatever, go to the link and do that, because it's all data driven. What they did, they pulled every accident for the past 3 years in the city, and they looked at it. So, but that's upcoming, interesting stuff.
Mhm.
That's it on project updates, unless there's questions.
Is there any questions concerning the information covered? Or any questions on some other projects that are already listed? County.
I was just wondering where the link was.
The link you can go on the Roswell webpage, City of Roswell. Find it there.
Okay.
Or the city's Facebook page is the other place.
Okay.
And if you, for those of you that live in the Northeast, we're paving and milling in Briar Ridge. And we'll be headed over to 24th Street sometime at the end of this week.
Any questions by committee members?
I have one question on the dewatering plant. That construction is complete?
Negative.
No,
86% is correct?
86%. Yeah.
Okay, 86%. And the funding is about 86% as well, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
James is
So they're behind on that a couple of months or
we're behind on that probably 6 or 8 months, and a lot of it was parts.
parts? Okay.
And then a lot of it was a pump turned on and it didn't work. And trying to get that resolved.
Get all back apart, box it back up and ship it back out.
I wish it was that easy. So, but we have,
It sounded hard.
I'll let Lorenzo, if he wants to expand on that or not, it's his money, we're his consultant.
So our engineer that we had to do at HDR, they proposed using some upgraded Wemco pumps to pump the effluent out of our primers. Usually where we settle out about 50% of our solids. The sludge was kind of too big to pull it. There wasn't enough head pressure to make those pumps work correctly. So we had to go back to our piston pumps we got some ordered from Common Line Sanderson. And we're going back to the original type of pump, which creates a lot more pressure to be able to push that sludge through the lines. So put a huge delay, I think is a design flaw. Lewis had filed a protest letter already stating that it was their fault that the design wasn't
That was my next question. Good job.
repaired correctly. So we're moving on. We're going to get the new piston pumps coming. Expect them on April, according to our meeting we had on Thursday.
Sure.
That's an estimated time, and then they can start installing it.
We're not holding up the project, we're going, but we filed a protest and errors and omission clause.
Really?
So
There'll be a little bit of a,
it'll be a little contentious here at the end.
yeah, it will be,
Little contentious as we wrap this project up.
yes.
Okay.
And before we move forward, I need to remind everybody that is present to please sign in so we can have a record of who is here. If you haven't signed in, please sign in. Any other questions for James concerning any of the projects that was discussed now or that is on the list? And if not, we'll go on to the next item, airport infrastructure update.
So in your package, you have the report. Neither Jennifer nor Jenna were available today. The only thing I can report on is on the water line. The surveyor's already come over here. And design is proceeding. I can take any questions back to RAC.
Of course, these items are non-action items, so
Yeah.
is there any questions by committee members? Any questions by anybody in attendance? Or online? I don't think we have anybody online, right? We do? Yep. Seeing none, then I will go on to.
I apologize real quick. So we're headed in the right direction with these water lines to the east side and at the airport. Is that what you just said?
Correct. We've already completed the design. We completed the survey.
Okay.
So they're going to finish up the design, but everything is on schedule. So hopefully have the design completed in April.
All right. What have we done leading up to this point besides just the design and
We had them do a preliminary estimate based on some qualifications that I gave them on the alignment only to make sure they would fit within the $2 million budget that we have.
right?
And it's fitting within $2 million budget so far.
So we haven't built anything.
We haven't built anything, no. The other thing that was asked of us is to, what are the utilities we could add besides that? And one of the fiber optic communication companies is willing to provide conduit that the contractor could add on top of the water line during the backfilling operations.
Okay, and so this has been going on for 3 years since the county originally got that money.
Well, this is phase 2.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get.
Yeah, okay, so, okay, phase 1, we built the water line from the new east tower.
Right,
We crossed the road, we went up Earl Cummins Loop East on the east side of the road. We turned there at Jennifer Lane, more or less, went Will Rogers Road. We went up to Building 93 towards the fence, south along the fence, and went west at Mystic, and we dead ended there at Mystic.
okay, so we're to Mystic now.
Yeah, with the 14-inch water line.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you were gonna tell me, and
Okay, no,
that we hadn't gotten any.
no, we're complete with what we call phase 1.
Okay, so
Our update is phase 2, because phase 1, as far as we're concerned, it's already been turned over to the internal customer.
okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? If not, we'll go on to item number 4, Facilities Department upgrade or update. Who's taking that one?
It'd be Nathan, but he's not here, so,
Okay,
and I can't speak on that.
skip that one. Then we'll go to item number 5, the land acquisition discussion, and that,
Okay, let me get up here. Understand you, this was brought back for discussion. We've been talking about this for quite a few years. So here's our East College, where dead ends, and here's our current plant right now. So as you look at our current plant, our current parcel, we're full. And what you can't see is all the skeletons underneath, all the foundations and stuff that we've avoided with our expansion. So over the years, we've been talking about buying the property to the east to Red Rig Road. We got, when Bill Morris was here, and it's in your packet, we got appraisals for this parcel and this parcel. And there was preliminary talk, and then we were told to kind of hurry up and wait. So now the owner of this property, the patriarch, has died. So that kind of brought that back up to conversation. And the idea that we would buy this parcel, lease it back to a user. They are using our water, inflow water, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Lease it back to the user. And by having this big parcel, we would have a future for the wastewater treatment plant, 50, 60, maybe 100 years if you just take what you need as you need it. And this is a discussion item. Staff, for any questions, Mr. Chairman?
any questions based on this? And the reason that I brought it up is I want to continue on it until we can see if we can make some kind of arrangement for the expansion of the wastewater. Because, I mean, obviously, we're expanding a lot north and west. And I think we need to come up with some kind of a plan to make sure that we are able to expand when it becomes necessary.
Well, Chairman, I believe you're correct. I think we're at capacity, aren't we, pretty much?
We still got capability of feeding more waste. We're actually permitted for 7.5 million gallons. Right now, we're currently at 3.5. But everything is designed to flow to that specific point. The majority of our thing, we have 4 lift stations in operation right now, but everything gravity feeds to that specific site. So it's not like you can really just put it anywhere you want throughout town. Everything's specifically designed for everything to flow in that direction, have the correct grade to get the flow to that treatment plant. Like Lewis said, there's probably 3 plants built on top of each other. So there's a lot of buried concrete piping, no electrical duct runs, a whole lot of piping infrastructure just buried. Whenever they demoed the whole building, they just left the foundations underneath. It'd be very difficult to build another plant on top of those 3 plants that are there now. So it'd be better just to move to the east, purchase that property, have it ready and available for when we have to move on to the next process. I think it's going to be a few years down the road before we have to get there. I think it's very important to purchase the property right now. Now the guy, Timmy Taylor, he's the one who's getting the property now. They're finalizing the estate since Mr. Wagner passed away. We talked to him this morning. He's willing to sell it to us. And then we can always release the property back. So we'll be putting money back.
So is that 980 cover site 2 and site 3?
Yes. Now, I'm not gonna say that appraisal is still good.
It's back from 2019. So.
But it was, to answer your question, Councilor Johnson, parcel 1 was this big parcel here. And then that parcel, this is the one that we want.
And that was actually $740,000.
Yeah, the 980 was this one up here on top.
Oh, got you.
Yes. But that was 2019, of course, I was changed, the face change.
5-year difference maybe.
Yes, so, but I think Mr. Chair's very correct in saying that it's very critical we purchase the property. We can get the revenue back by leasing it back for them, but having it readily available for future expansion of the site. Like I said, specifically because everything's designed to go that.
Well, and if I'm understanding correctly, they farm there already.
Yes.
And maybe us purchasing it and leasing it would help pay the payment maybe, I don't know. And plus we supply water to those guys too.
Effluent, yes.
Yeah, just our effluent water.
Yeah.
It's better for, and the majority, all of our effluent water right now is going to the ranchers.
Going to the ranchers.
This year, we did not have to go to the river, which is our EPA permit. It's a much stricter permit. That's a lot more for testing, working weekends, everything else. When we're discharging to the farmers, you're more concerned about nitrates and not ammonias so much. So it's a lot less requirements on the testing in order to go to the land application versus discharging to a river.
My concern is that, he's passed away in the States now. Sometimes the son comes in and he's like, we're selling and we're leaving, or they transfer it to somebody else and now we've got a different dilemma. And
we talked to him this morning, Counselor, and his name's Timmy Taylor and he's ready.
He's ready to pull the trigger.
As of this morning, we spoke to him this morning.
And he would even lease it back.
Yes.
Possibly.
Pretty sure he would, yes.
Or we could get into the farming business ourselves.
He's taking it over from.
Put popcorn out.
Set up a cannabis farm.
Set our own. No, but
If I remember correctly, that was the agreement that we had with the older gentleman.
Yes, it was.
That he was willing to sell it, get it leased back to him until such time that the city needed it. At that time, he would turn it over to the city. And I think if the son, I guess it is, or whoever.
I think it was a stepson.
Stepson. I mean, if we could still get the same conditions, I think we need to jump on it as quickly as possible and secure it.
too. I mean,
I would concur with you. When we went out and did the tour of the plant, there was some conversation about that at that time, but it's like conversation, hurry up and wait, find this out and then we'll sit around and sit on it until, so I think it's, for me, it's imperative that we pick that up.
I think it's time.
Ability to grow.
Well, Mr. Chairman and committee, my suggestion would be further those talks, bring a little bit more structured information here. And that way we could always be putting it on the budget for fiscal year 25. It's going to require a budget. It'll require all 10 of you to vote on it.
Yeah, the question just remains how much.
Yeah. And this had some kind of grant eligibility to it, but I don't know.
That I don't know. But we could do some more. This is a discussion item. We can continue doing more research and bring it back to.
And let's please keep this on our radar.
Okay.
And I think it's a good idea.
Well, I'm suggesting that we bring it up every month to get an update as to
Chairman, I couldn't agree with you more.
where we're at with this.
Do you think we should also put this on a finance?
I absolutely think that you better put it there,
Okay.
because we are talking about money.
Well, that's going to definitely need to land there.
So while we're talking about wastewater, is it my understanding that we're sending some of this effluent water out to the Roswell Country Club, to the golf course? There. What is that pipe like on that?
Pretty bad shape. They've had already, I believe, 3 breaks on it now because ever since they put the new pump, this was at Roswell Country Club's expense. They're upping the increasing the pressure on that effluent line because they want more pressure at the country club, which is bad for that old pipe.
So when it comes time to replace that pipe, they're going to take care of that also?
That's in discussion right now.
As I understand, Councilor Cavan, that's a private line.
So they
It's only ours up to their pump.
We're taking responsibility up to the northern fence of the wastewater treatment plant. From there on, it's private, going all the way to the country club.
That's where the pump is. Okay.
So
Up to the fence, the pump and up to the fence, and then from there on.
Explain to them how it operates.
So what we got, we run the full process. So our clean effluent water, after it's already run through our UV station, disinfected and properly treated, it goes into effluent box. And at that effluent box, before it just goes out to gravity flow, because they're the only ones getting pumped water. Everybody else, it goes into a channel, goes through there, and it's just gravity. This is the only one that is actually pumped to the country club. And they did pay to put in the new pump because we used to have them on an old pump where they could only get it from 10 o'clock to certain hours. They wanted continuous availability to the effluent water. So they put in a new pump in our effluent box, and now they're pumping it there through the piping. We ran the new pipe from the old effluent box to this front effluent box. We did it by the city. We installed it, tied onto existing, and now they're using that old piping to get that effluent water out there.
And councilors, they turn on the pumps and turn them off themselves.
that's all their, I mean.
It's all their operation.
All their operation.
Yes, sir.
There's further discussion going on right now. I mean, it's kind of getting out of bounds a little bit, but I mean, what they pay per acre foot of water, essentially right now, Hess and Josh are working on a new effluent use agreement where they're going to cover the electrical because we're paying them actually to take our effluent water because of the charge of the electricity for it. I talked to Hess just last week and they're going to drop a new contract so they can start covering that charge. Before that, we didn't know how much that electrical was costing us. Now we're actually having to pay them because what they pay for effluent water, we're paying a whole lot more for electrical than what they're going to pay us for the effluent water they receive. So.
Just meter the pump and you're good, right?
Excuse me?
Just put a meter on the pump and call.
There is one sole meter just to that one pump.
There you go.
And we're just gonna write up that agreement, have them pay that, and then we'll charge them the same amount, the $15 per acre foot for that effluent use water, and they'll be good to go.
All right, you guys are on it.
So we're on it.
Thank you.
Well,
Is there any questions for anybody in attendance or anybody online? All right, so we'll go on to the next one, the roads pavement maintenance map. Is that,
James?
So this was requested last month that we provide a map showing some of our pavement maintenance activities. So we collected data on everything we've done back to 2018. Again, I know the map in your packets was at a small scale and probably unreadable. So we printed some larger scale copies for you guys to look at. And again, it's just provided for information for you guys to see scale and scope of pavement maintenance activities that we've done. You can see we've done quite a bit, still have a lot left to do. So stand for questions.
this plan is based on the feasibility study
The
done back in
payment condition report, yes.
2018?
2020,
2019.
2019.
yeah.
That's the one that said it would take like $65 million to bring it up to speed.
$16 million a year.
Yeah.
And I have been contacted by the company that did that. And it's recommended you do it every 5 years.
Right.
So we're getting to that 5-year point again. And we're going to put it on our budget just to ask, but I mean, council.
16 million?
No, I mean, just to do the analysis again. And that 16 million is not even some of the capital projects that made it.
I know it was something like,
But I would be curious to see, I don't think it would cost as much as the last time. Well, maybe inflation it might, but to see what kind of dent, if we did a dent into going from a D to a D minus or something.
hopefully.
So
Plus.
our grade right now is a D,
Yes, sir.
and it can only get better, it looks like.
No, you could get,
No.
Well,
Well, just making sure money doesn't leave our road fund, I think is imperative. And looking at opportunities for these grants, of course, I asked the question a while ago, what's the max? 25 million, but can we afford,
20%.
yeah, 20%? Can we afford 5 million, to get 20? It would behoove us to do that, but reality also has its checks and balances. But wow.
I see this project the same way that I see the, what do you call it, manhole.
Oh, the manhole cover project? Yeah.
By the
Manhole rehab.
time you get to the end, you got to start all over again.
Well, and then, building it is one thing, but also maintaining it is another.
Yep.
And it's hard to maintain when you can't keep up with building. And now you're trying this juggling act, and it's not an easy one. I know you guys struggle with it every day, but
We cuss and discuss it every day.
well, it's.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
so can you actually tell me what we are spending annually on actual road maintenance or what is budgeted? I have an idea in my head, but I don't want to say.
We're in the $5 to $7 million range, if you include the capital project.
The study said, I remember I was sitting there when you
And
did that
but
study.
if you look and if you see, we're doing 600,000 a year hot recycle, 400,000 a year to cover that. So that's $1 million when we do about 8 miles. Okay, and then 1.5 million for collector mill and fill. $1.5 million for residential mill and fill, which I'll go into mileage and the change order that we have here. So right now you're talking $4 million. We did not do the 800,000 of what we call the Brazier Nova Chip this year, because we traded that $800,000 for a street sweeper and a patch truck that we're still waiting for them to make and deliver, that we'll probably get in January, February 2025.
So that
You
leads,
got to have the PO in their possession for them to make it.
that leads me to two more questions. The next question would be between 5 to 7 million and 16 million, what would be a number that you actually think could actually help us move faster, like as far as making sure that our streets are
They
maintained?
were recommending $5 million just to maintain our D.
Okay.
So if you're looking at 5 and 16, 10 would help you maybe get to a C.
Okay.
$16 million is supposed to get you up to a B.
Okay. And so then my final question would be, what could we realistically accomplish? Because a lot of the problem is not just having more money, but it's having the capabilities of actually getting the work implemented. Because we can only do so many projects in a year, and we probably need additional staff to work in that 16 million is a.
If we could get, so we're doing roughly what, $4 million with what I call pavement maintenance and statewide contracts. Those, you could just double that. And there are no plans. We just get the list, statewide contracts, issue a PO. And typically we go March. And we start early in March, we're done in March with one process. And then April, we're done with the other process. So we could still conceivably have 2 more months to do the same amount of work.
So
Get it all done in a fiscal year.
So the POs and getting people to actually respond to doing that work, because I know that we, as a city, don't necessarily do our own on that, but I'm trying to think of the proper wording, but do we actually have the businesses or the ability to implement, or people in our community that would actually?
All these processes are done from out-of-town contractors. The hot recycle, the microservicing standalone, and the Nova chip. Those are all done by outside contractors. They're on a statewide contract. So if I have the list of the streets, I get a quote, I bring it to infrastructure, get the okay to send it to council. Council votes on it if it's on the budget, and you get a PO, and they're on the list.
Okay.
And what we try to do is, since we're pretty far south, all these contractors like to put Roswell as their first project of the year.
Because of the temperature.
Because of the temperatures.
Okay. Well, and the reason for my questioning is because I had been informed of otherwise, and I just needed you to contradict what I felt was not correct.
Okay, on the pavement maintenance side, now the capital projects where you have to have mill and fill, ADA, sidewalk, and all that stuff, yeah, that requires a set of plans, and it's a little bit slower process, but pavement maintenance.
Or our streets would be.
Yeah, statewide contract.
There is a ability to create a rhythm for getting those done at a faster rate. And so therefore giving your department proper funding would be advantageous.
Yes. Thank you.
And if I remember correctly, Louis, there is a plan that where you look at providing services per ward, on streets per ward, right? Based on the discussion that.
Okay, so what we've been doing is trying to give each ward a little bit. I know there's been discussion, do it in sections. The last temperature readings that I got with the previous councils and the last times has been per ward. As far as preference, just give me the money. How do you want to do it? We'll do it. But I mean, we tried.
Pavement condition has to rule the day.
Yeah, pavement condition rules the day.
Yeah, and then we judge by ward, but we have to go by pavement condition and I guess, and I don't know, Christina, if this is maybe where you were going, but so if we were to get an influx, if we were to get like 5 million just for projects where we could get $20 million from federal grant, you guys have the capacity to actually run that if we were to get something like that, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
That's right.
And then every year when we make our list, the list is 2 pages.
Yeah. So you
By the
guys,
time we're done, it's half a page.
you guys would just inspect quantities, do lab tests and actually the contractor performs a lot of those. You just oversee it?
We still do our own lab tests. We still have a certified lab, but no, we still have the inspectors that go out there and watch it on a daily basis. We measure the quantities on a daily basis. We get with the contractor to make sure that the square yardage is matched every day.
Yeah.
And we have a running total every day, which I'll explain a little bit on one of these, on the change order. We're knowing what's going on every day. So typically I'll ask for a little bit less and then say I got a $1.5 million target. When we're getting close to the end, we already know which street we're going to finish out on. Where are we at? Okay, let's add half a block. Let's add a block to get to our target.
We're all looking at the slurry seal, micro seal process, and we're looking at possibly alleviating that altogether and putting, I would rather see those funds go toward the matching funds to a larger amount and do the actual milling. I'd rather see, instead of seeing $1 million go to an IPR project or a micro seal, I'd rather see $1 million be a matching to 4 million and do mill and fill for way more.
Okay. I would go for that, but the price difference is about 4 to 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what we're doing
But
now,
the quality of work is,
oh yeah, it's a big difference.
wow, it's, because I see these, sometimes you put those Band-Aids on there and you want to give them some love, but come on,
Well, yeah, and the thing all we're
I
doing,
know what you guys are up against, trust me, I
no,
do.
but the thing is what we do, the microsurfacing, the biggest thing it has to do, it gives you a little bit of friction, a little bit of rideability, but it's also adding emulsion so your pavement doesn't dry out. Because that's the thing.
But when you have the 1-inch vertical cracks, it doesn't help that much.
Yeah, microsurfacing does little for crack sealing.
Yeah.
It helps your rideability.
Anyway, it's just a thought process I think we should look at maybe going forward. I think it's a good conversation starter, especially knowing that there's a lot of funds out there we could tap into if we had our own funds, and I just good money over bad money is
And it's the
just,
same conversation
I know it.
I had when I was at the DOT. When
Absolutely.
they'd only give me so much maintenance, when I was running the maintenance as well as the
Yes.
construction over there, you'd only get so much per district.
And
And what are we gonna do?
we're going to chip seal everything, right?
Yeah, chips. We did our own chip sealing. We did a lot of Cutler. We did a lot of here and there just to,
Full depth reclamations were like just not heard of.
well, we were doing cold in situ in the 80s. In fact, I think I was the second one in the state to do it. So, but then again, the philosophies, the cabinet secretaries change, politics changes.
I get you, man.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, the only thing I would say, Councilman Johnson, is that that's something to aspire to. And so just having the knowledge, I think that that's kind of a vision of where we try to direct ourselves when it comes to financing. Trying to aspire to get that accomplished.
My road myself, I've seen slurry seals over there time in and time out. And I would rather don't do it no more. I'll wait 10 years, give me a mill and fill, But in 10 years, I know what it would look like. Trust me.
Anything else on this topic? Anybody in attendance? Anybody online? And if not, we'll go to the next one. Portland Lou discussion. That's yours.
Well, no, I didn't put it on here, but I can talk to you about it.
Yeah. I just said it was supposed to be brought back for further discussion, so it's back.
And I know that the last meeting we discussed about the possibility of having a workshop to see if we can bring in all the counselors.
Right, and I believe we all agreed that we need restrooms. There's no doubt. And how we get there is something I think we need to collectively come together on.
But I also heard some concerns about the money. And also heard that maybe we're jumping the gun because there's, what's that? The county.
The county is fixing to do a cultural plaza with Main Street, Roswell. So it's going to be built over behind the courthouse off of Virginia. So they're going to be putting bathrooms in there. One of my big concerns is we see that if I'm correct from reading that the cost of putting this deal is going to be around $213,000. Is that what you're looking at? So what is the annual cost of maintaining, operating, supervising? What are the hours of operation going to be for this? I mean, it's going to be where people can go in and out of it till all, 24/7. I mean, what is the long-term cost to the city if we do this versus the 213,000 is the number to put it in, but what's the number going to be to maintain it and to clean it and to supervise it and all of those types of things? I mean, those are big questions that have to be answered.
Councilor
Yeah, so I want to add, I think those are great questions for a workshop. I was contacted by Portland Lou. I think all of us may have been, and I've reached out to them to have a conversation. They might be beneficial to be at that workshop as well, to have their input. I would say that I'm extremely excited that the county is putting in a restroom behind, behind their parking lot on the county building. However, it's gated. Their plan is all gated and closed in and will be locked. So it's kind of the same issue we have with the visitor center in the sense that it's only open at certain times. The actual look of what we're looking at here, this is Reichman's Park. Okay, so creating an environment where you can sit here and then there's a restroom break area right there. Police officers or whoever can come check on it at certain times, and there's other access. But I do agree that we do need to look at the actual amount for full care. You already have our Parks and Rec out every morning cleaning that area, so they could be the first. They're already there. So there are other instances where we, of course, would have to look at the manpower behind that. But I guess the best way, and I know there's concern on the funding side, but that there again, what I have requested be considered is not general funds. It's lodger's tax. Okay, so that's completely different. And because putting our lodger's tax to use where it actually, I think would help us and impact basically we get lodger's tax because of tourists.
Are you talking about larger tax for the building to be erected or installed along with maintenance, expenses being paid through larger tax?
There is portions of lodger's tax that I believe even for the UFO festival where it's actually portioned out, where sanitation and the police department actually get funding for maintaining or working those events. I don't know. It is something I think that we could kind of look at as to where can that funding come from. But to me, just saying that we can't afford it without actually looking to see, to assess, because most of the stuff that I have pushed, because I have been told the city has no money, I don't mess with the general funds. Any concept or any idea I have, I already have another plan or a grant, or have already had several conversations on how to fund this. So my theory is I don't want to slam the door and say we can't afford it yet, because we honestly haven't had a workshop to determine that.
Would you be able to contact the people and see what,
Absolutely.
if they would be available at a certain time, and then we can maybe set up a workshop?
For like 2 to 3 weeks out?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's not during spring break.
What?
I said,
I did that earlier, and I don't do holidays. I just keep working no matter. So I didn't know, and we were going to have a bunch of meetings.
well, Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure that, I'm not slamming the door on this, but there's a lot of questions to be answered. If you do a workshop and have them come in and, I think one of the things that we left the last meeting with was what does it look like and what do all those questions that I just have had, and where do we take on liability on it? What's our insurance going to look like on having a facility like that?
Maintenance.
Well, the maintenance, the liability, there's so many questions to be answered, but having a workshop, I think, is perfect. And maybe we can get those questions answered.
And they were great questions. And I'll tell you, I started out with this, it was called the Fundaroo, what was it? I had the Lou Fundaroo, looking at how to fund it. I know, all right? And there were going to be 3 of them. But so now, like I said, just actually, that was been 2 years I've been talking about bathrooms. So I love the questions and I love all that input.
Well, and to the point on what the county and Main Street, Roswell, are going to do, those facilities are going to have open, and they're not going to be open 24/7, but during any events, they'll be open. If there's any emergencies like a Goliath or anything like that, the county will have those open. And I have to assume that Main Street, Roswell is a big part of putting that at Plaza together. So I think it's really going to be great for downtown. I'm excited about it. We've got so many good things coming right now. But I think a workshop will be perfect. But the more we collaborate with the county on some of this stuff, the better we're going to be.
Right.
Well, actually, and that gives me the opportunity to stick this in there. I wanted to thank the engineering department because they've been very big in helping on the wayfinding project, which would be the big gateways. And so we have some good positive leeway. So there is some amazing things happening in the downtown area. There's a good push forward. And to me, the bathrooms are basically a message to tourists, please come, we're making it convenient for you. We want you here. And so anyway, because there's a lot of great things happening in our epicenter, Main Street epicenter. But anyway, okay, I will actually work on the workshop for about 3 weeks out. Not.
Yeah, we'll work on it and see if they would be available and willing to come.
Oh, yeah, no, they were extremely happy. They'll be excited.
I saw one of these in operation. I'm Steve Smith, and I was up in Colorado Springs, and I saw one of these being used by the old part of Colorado Springs, and it was all stainless steel. I went in, looked around, and talked to some, it was in a square, and talked to some of the business people, and they said it was absolutely great that they would come in and just put a hose on this thing, wash out the inside and go on.
Yep.
And there were some, I guess, supplies with toilet paper, but the maintenance is very low, and I think it was run into the city sewer. So that eliminates the issue of the little truck that comes around and cleans all these other ones, or empties all the tanks. Porta potties, yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I thought it was really cool, and so good luck with it.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir. Can I get your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Daniel. I'm part of the Spring River Corridor Foundation as well. I just want to add to the whole bathroom conversation. I think, doing workshops great, but also having a commitment towards having this opportunity had and built is great, because I own a downtown business, and, people from the street just come in just to use my bathroom all the time. And, I try not to say no, because I know people need it and there's not an opportunity like this available. So it would alleviate a lot of stress on the businesses, but also it would supply public health. It's good for the public health and good for the economy to have these available. So having a commitment towards this is awesome. So I hope that you guys follow through.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? So we'll wait for you and see when they are available. So we'll go to item number 8, the Hobbs Street project update.
Okay, so the Hobbs Street project update, again, this is requested an update from the last meeting. We're advertising it now. We open bids March 12th. So March Infrastructure, you'll see the bids and the recommendation to go to April Council. Go to April Council, get awarded. I would expect construction would start in May. This is the DOT TPF project, funded project. And we're in the process of putting in for more projects, applications, which you'll see the applications next month as well. But just to remind you, this is 95% DOT. And this was $2.4 million project, $2.2 million DOT, $120,000 to do the pavement condition to mill and fill Hobbs from Southeast Main to Sunset. And then we'll work on the sidewalk from Main to Union, which is basically where all the houses are at, the school's at, and we'll focus on that. So again, we're very happy with this. We have been told the TPF money for this year has been dropped, and there'll probably be just as many applications. So hopefully next year we're talking about what we got awarded this year. And I stand for any questions on the Hobbs Street.
Any questions from committee members? Any questions from the public? Well, I thought you were raising your hand. Anybody online have any questions? And I guess we don't, so we'll go to the next one. CDBG process.
Okay, so at the request of Chairman Oropesa, I'm going to explain the community development block grant process. Darrell, are you familiar with this process?
A little bit, yes, sir.
Will?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So
I have an idea.
the last two projects that we did the Boys Club, and then we did the sidewalks on Bland from Garden all the way to Mesa Middle School. The bread and butter projects that we can do with the least amount of outside help is, of course, sidewalk and roadway and utilities. We do it in-house. We don't hire a consultant. But the way the CDBG project works is we have public hearings, typically 3 public hearings. The people bring us their request, and eventually it goes to council. Council votes what direction we're going to go. Then we put in an application. Part of the application is you have to be low income. So I would send my crews, they'll do a door-to-door survey, make sure that we meet the financial and diversity needs. And then even prior to that, if we're going to go for one of these, 2 of my staff have to go to and get CDBG certified that year, and every year we're working with CDBG. We haven't done that for a while, so I would say those 2 right there, James and Glenda, would be sent to get the CDBG training. Glenda and I have been certified at one point or the other, and James, this will be his first one.
Is that a one-day training or
2-day.
2-day?
2-day training. It's kind of like what the DOT is now doing with the local government funds. Now you got to have people certified to deal with that kind of money. The CDBG process has been doing that for forever.
It's a good program.
So Mr. Chairman, the CDBG, is that part of what their county and Main Street Roswell are using to create this deal over there?
I couldn't answer that, Counselor.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It is? Okay. So the grant's usually about $750,000 with the minimum 10% match. I've already put in my budget request $1 million in case we go forward. It would be $750,000 grant, $250,000 match. And it all helps when you present your application in person. The counselors also go to help, wave the flags and say we want money, need money. We would also ask to utilize Dora Batista in southeast New Mexico Economic Development District to help with the paperwork. That's what she deals with all the time. And again, the paperwork process, how many binders? And the 3 big binders about that thick. So even though we're certified, we would hire Dora, and that would be out of the $750,000 to help pay for that. Of course, council help us. And again, item number 9 on my laundry list there, we would recommend sidewalk and roadway projects in the low income, as we can do those in-house and not take money off the top for consultant.
What is the criteria for a low-income area?
I think it's over 50%. And they got to be below the medium income level. Over the years, we've done around St. John's. We did St. John's area for about 4 or 5 years. We did the sidewalks on Bland from Garden to Mesa Middle School. We also did the Boys Club, and the Boys Club was a pain project because when we tore up the old gym floor, there was another gym floor under there. which we also had to take out, and it was settled, so we know why they had 2 gym floors. But bread and butter projects are sidewalk and curb and gutter utilities, so we don't have to hire consultants. And that money goes to the project on the road.
It's an easy one to,
Correct.
And I'll just share the project that I'm interested in is the area 6th, 7th, and 8th Street between Garden and Railroad. If you've gone through that area right there, you'll see some sidewalks, but hardly any. And that's the project that I would like to bring forward to the meetings to address and see if we can get people in that area to go. And of course, it's open for other projects as well.
Like lights,
Huh?
so like lights.
As a matter of fact, I did talk to Dora about lights, and they do have the ability to do that as well. But for now, I think my focus is more on the sidewalks in that area.
Mr. Chairman, the calendar hasn't come out for 2024. So James and I will be getting with is it Batista and start seeing what the calendar is, start getting certified, just working that direction and we can start having the public hearings.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to let you know that if I can do anything as letters of support or go anywhere and speak and advocate, just let me know. I'll try.
If we're successful and we get something through council, whatever it is, I would ask that you.
I'll show up. I'll bring a cart full if I need to.
We don't make cookies.
Yes, sir.
Chair, just a quick question. I'm 2 months into this, and I know back a few years ago that you had some electeds that thought we didn't need to be a member of the Southeastern New Mexico Economic Development, COG. Are we still members with them?
Yes, we're still members.
Okay, that's a good thing.
Yeah, there for a while, we had some counselors talking about.
Went out and hired their own lobbyists to do stuff out there. And I don't think we still have that contract anymore, do we?
I'm not sure.
I don't think we have a lobbyist contract anymore.
Okay, that's a
Because I think, as I understand, some counselors have made the trip this past legislative. And then where Hubert's no longer with us, they've hired Debbie Lee. And Debbie Lee, if you're familiar with politics around here, she's been a city manager, I think a county manager around the state. Very familiar and very helpful.
Anything else on this issue? Anybody online have any questions? If not, we'll go on to the next one, South Roswell Economic Development.
Everyone, this one's put on the agenda at the request of Council Arnold.
Okay.
So I've actually just had it on my mind that the South is a good direction for us to consider. And one of the things I basically have a fact finding. I'm just looking for information on kind of what building that south side would take as far as infrastructure. I did ask Mr. Espiritu to kind of be here to assist in the conversation as far as development and bringing in and enticing, the economic side of that growth down there. I don't have a lot of, I'm not sure exactly what questions to ask yet until I kind of have more presented to me. For me, you have ILEA down there. ILEA is looking at needing a hotel. That you have the Eastern New Mexico University. I think having restaurants and maybe like a marketplace, Walmart, some kind of concept like that being considered down there. Then also with any progress that we have for the airport, I think there's a direction for expansion and for good ideas and concepts. I think to me, everything is a dance. So while you're fixing one, you need to be concentrating on other areas and continuously moving everything. Instead of just focusing here, you just divide and conquer. And that south side should be on our minds as what that should look like as we're expanding and working here and here. And then that way, everything is being built at the same
Could you
time.
define south side more
When I say south side,
specifically?
I actually mean just along the Main Street corridor, Brasher, anywhere out in there. And that is kind of why I actually was asking, I called Mr. Nahar to kind of go, okay, what would be advantageous? I don't have an actual answer. What I'm wanting to know from the professionals is thoughts on where we should actually invest infrastructure or get the funding to do so, or and advice from Mr. Espiritu on what that would look like as well on building up near the airport, or just any, I just want to start getting the motor running on, because I don't have anything concrete. I just know that south side is a good direction for us, because that you have a lot of the Chaves County, the Hagerman, Dexter, what we put in there could also bring in Artesia. So that's kind of why I'm saying I want to get our wheels a turning and get the conversation started.
And as far as infrastructure goes, Main Street, we focused on that a few years back. If you remember how, when you used to leave the airport, how Main Street used to be, and if you drive it now, it's a whole lot better. We went in there, we did a hot recycle, microsurface, then we put a Brazier Nova chip on top of that with, I think, $1 million of legislative money was pitched in on that. So we worked on that from Hobson, well, actually from Walker Road all the way up to Jaffa. And then 2 years ago, no, last year, we did the mill and fill from Jaffa to Gale to finish up that corridor. Of course, the towers water towers at the airport. And then we have water along there. We don't have sewer. So sewer would be the biggest infrastructure that we'd have to think about. And the easiest way to do that would be pick a lift station site, drain everything to the lift station, and then pump it.
Okay.
Lobby for a Walmart over there and it'll just let everything build around it.
You know, there's been discussion. I mean, box stores have come and they've sniffed around, but the first thing they do is say, can we see the traffic counts?
Right.
Now they don't come around anymore because now the DOT made it super easy to get traffic counts. So they look at the traffic counts. Everybody asks me, how come everything's up north? Traffic counts. Plain and simple.
You know, at one time, the city was looking at, they actually sold property by Aliyah
Yep.
to build a motel, a long stay motel or something like that. And for whatever reason, that one kind of went by the wayside. Because we had the dad and the daughter come and make a presentation to the council about buying the property and building that hotel.
So the current, Mr. Chair, the current director actually approached me at the last Aliyah and was talking about that lot and trying to, he wanted to have conversations on what that would look like because of the advantages of that. But also I want to actually ask Councilman Johnson a question. When you do the traffic counts, so any traffic coming in from Dexter and Hagerman is actually diverted out of that area because of the Y? Am I correct in assuming that maybe the traffic counts are low?
The counters are put on a certain
That would
roadway.
be, actually, James would have a better answer than me as a traffic engineer of past, so.
Yeah, the DOT counts, so I used to work at DOT, that's the reason I know, Mr. Chairman.
So glad you did.
So those traffic counts are done on a rotating cycle.
Mhm.
And it's not just the main routes that they will count. I mean, a lot of our side streets have counts. So, I mean, they'll know traffic coming up 285, traffic coming down Hobson from 285, and then all that's identified in their routine traffic counts.
Well, I mean, because it makes sense that our traffic would be consistently low because there's the airports there. But I mean, sometimes I kind of question the logic behind, of course it's low.
Yeah, well, it's, what is it? ADT, average daily travel. And it dictates everything now.
Sure. Okay.
I mean, there are businesses come in and talk to us, like Dion's. And Dion's listened to what we said. The county needs some stuff down there for people to eat in the south side, and they went for it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. And that's kind of why, for me, Mr. Espiritu is actually very important in this conversation because our economic development driver, could actually creating the vision and creating, because what I'm kind of seeing is, especially with, I've got my fingers crossed because of the Reno Air races. And so that's why, to me, it's a win-win. So, yeah, so with those things in mind, having the conversations, if you would, Mr. Espiritu, when you're up north and talking to developers in creating, I guess, a little bit of interest around that if you can, or having conversations on what that looks like. It's just a thought of mine, and I've actually asked around before. I asked as to how many people might be interested in developing that area, and you would be surprised at how many people have wondered why we haven't started yet. So.
You want to add anything, Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Councilor Arnold. Yes, we need stuff out there, right? Just to put it bluntly. I think the first step would probably take a look at the strategic plan that's being written on the Air Center. I think we need to look, what's the vision of that area? What are the councilors, what do the city, what do the people want to see out there? Because you know what, we can say, let's put in a whatever.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that's what we really should be doing. And does that make sense with that area? I know about the hotel thing. I know we can take it back and I know all that stuff, and I think a hotel out there would be very useful, especially if air races comes. But I think without having some kind of strategy and a vision of what we want it to look like, you can't build to it. I think we'll try to do stuff and it's going to fail or not, but chances are it probably won't be very successful because we're not focusing on what we really want to be when we grow up. So my suggestion was, probably, I hate to say workshop because I'm not a big workshop fan, but, I think you need to do something like that. We need to sit down and talk about what do we want to be? What do we want to look like? What do we want to attract? Because, we in the EDC, we can go out and attract a lot of different type of entities, but we don't know if that's what we want out there. We could go out there and attract a double dollar store. Like we've got a new double dollar store out there. Y'all see, so we've seen that. We don't need more dollar stores out there. We just need other stuff. But what does that other stuff look like? And what does a city want it to look like? That's what's important. Until we know what that is, then we're just spinning our wheels.
Well,
We can't go for funding. We can't put Lewis to work on engineering. There's a lot of things we can't do because we just don't know.
one thing that I can tell you is that when I talk to people, I think people were so disappointed when Kmart walked away.
Thank you.
And so now Walmart, at least for me, is like 6 miles, 12 miles round trip just to go get a whatever. And so I think one of those kind of box stores would be very helpful on this side of town. And then you start looking at the west side and east side. I mean, they're going to be asking for pretty much the same thing. And so,
Well, Chairman, if you will, I campaigned. I campaigned hard. I knocked on a lot of doors. They want a Costco. I'm serious. And I mean, everybody is sick and tired of traveling up north. And, this thing is building and they will come. That's easy to say. I mean, you're right. We need a vision. But there's a lot of people that mention that, but the thing is, how do you promote it? How do you make it happen? The concept is great. How do you go forward? I mean, I'm not that guy. I don't get figured out out for you.
from my understanding is businesses, when they come here, even doctors, they come in and they look at our crime rate, they look at our school system, they look at what's there to do for their kids and those kind of things. And if those kind of things are not attractive, they're not going to come.
The demographics kind of go in the other direction.
And quality of life, a lot of quality of life things.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, great conversation. You know, the one thing I would say, and Mike has done amazing stuff for us here in Roswell and Chaves County, but this deal that we have coming right now with the well-built out there buying the bus plant and that coming, that's going to be huge. It's going to be big, and there's going to be such a ripple effect to that, to the college out there, to the air center. And then if you top that off with the Reno Air Races, we're going to be on a launching pad. And that's when we really have to start thinking about what we should be looking like in the next 2 years. And I think Mike has a great plan for that, but we can't put the cart before the horse. And this modular deal, it's going to be huge. I mean, it really is. And it's going to be out there. And I think we're going to be in an amazing position when the time comes. And we've sat around for the last 30 years, last 3 decades, trying to get over 50,000. Well, I'm just going to tell you, I truly believe that with these things, we're going to hit that marker, and we're going to probably be moving more like 60, 65,000 with the things that we have coming. And that makes all the difference in the world in what we look like, whether it's on the south side, the east side, west side, or more up north. Okay. But I think it's huge. Mike's done great stuff for us since he came in here. It's been 4 years now, 5?
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
And so we're in an amazing place right now for the future of Roswell, Chaves County, and southeastern New Mexico. So I think it's great conversation. I think we need to continue having it. But it's here, and I think we're ready to get some great things done for this community.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you, Councilor. Mr. Chairman, you know, I think with kind of what Darrell was talking about, Councilor Johnson was talking about the traffic counts, you know, all that's going to happen organically as a result of all this building, but we do have to look at the basic infrastructure needs. Do we have the capacity for more people out there? Do we have the capacity for businesses? You mentioned sewer lines, Louis. I mean, we have to look at those basic fundamental pieces, because if it's going to be too cost prohibitive in putting a business in a park out there or what have you, then it's going to be a challenge for us. We've got to kind of plan and get ready for, again, what we want to be, because if we don't do that, we can't support it. Because it's going to be, for a lot of these companies, whether they're retail or they're industrial, it's all about speed to market. And they're going to want to get on the ground floor before everybody else and be in business. And we as a community, if we're not ready for it from an infrastructure perspective, then it's going to really delay stuff. That's just my thoughts. And as far as the hotels and that stuff, should RAH come to Roswell? OMG. We are going to be so busy working with those type of activities to bring them to, and you know, guess where it's all going to be at end of town.
It all ties in. I mean, we talk about the wastewater. You know, if we see that kind of expansion in our community, obviously that's going to have an impact on the wastewater as well. And, you know, and the roads and what have you. You got a question?
I'm just saying, even the Oaks would have something, even the Oaks coming is a thing that we need to look at for wastewater. We have a whole lot happening on so many levels. And so that's for me why I was actually raising this question, because granted, you know, you don't want to put the cart before the horse, but at the same time, I think we're at the point to where if we wait any longer as far as having a vision or a concept or even a determination of what is needed or what we want, then that puts us a year to 2 behind, because the way government runs is slow. And so, and we know this stuff is coming. We know that all of this is happening. So why would we not be prudent and create a plan or create a concept, at least in our mind, and seek advice from the professionals? I don't know if that means Mr. Espiritu holding like a vision summit, or us another lovely workshop, which are always my favorite. But so I would like, before we close this conversation out, at least having some form of a mild commitment as to the next step, because I want to keep this conversation going. And so what do you guys prefer?
No, I concur with you, Mr. Chairman, and Councilor Arnold, that I know has it been 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we had that housing summit where we had all the realtors and then.
Yes.
December 9th, 2019. It was my birthday, yeah.
Oh. And look at where we're at now. Okay, so those workshops, having those people that have the vision for Roswell, whether it's realtors, commercial, I mean, and Mike is, like I said, he's going to all these different conferences and going and being contacted on a regular basis. But I think that your phone's going to be ringing off the hook as we move forward. But I think another workshop, maybe we can put a workshop together to do both. We can multitask.
And Southside?
Just talking about Roswell.
Oh, okay. One big one.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this game. I mean, I do get frustrated when we talk about the north versus the south. And I mean, when it came down to combining Roswell High and Goddard, and, everybody was having a heart attack on trying to put the two schools together. But we've got to quit being rival as far as Roswell is concerned. And we need Roswell to grow. We need Roswell, whether we've got great stuff going on out south, but once again, east, west, north, we need to focus on our community. And part of that's going to be part of the growth, and it's not going to be real pleasant because, every time we start talking about trying to annex parts of Roswell, suddenly, boy, that's the third rail. I mean, that's like talking about Social Security. But we're gonna have to look at doing some annexing. But with that, as we're all talking about the infrastructure, I mean, right now, Lorenzo, where does the waste from out at the base go? Since it was originally a base.
Anyway, lift station out there, we run about 1 million gallons per day through that. And we're actually bringing that as a capital request, we're gonna have to redo that lift station this year. So we're gonna bring that in. It's gonna be a pretty costly endeavor. So you'll be seeing that coming up for budget purposes. But I mean, we have the capacity to run more, but we've got to get the equipment and upgrade our equipment out there in order to handle more flow for that. But it's definitely a good question, because we're gonna have to get better equipment.
And Counselor, geographically, the lift stations, East Earl Cummins and Hobson Road, right there by the tanks, the old gasoline tanks, whatever the fuel tanks were. And then it follows the railroad tracks, crosses 285, follows 285, and ends up at East Grand Plains and Atkinson intersections. And then it's gravity all the way
South north.
all the way from there past the jail and all the way to 2nd Street.
Well, if this vision that we have for this community is going to come to fruition, we have to be proactive as we grow.
We're on it on that end.
And we've got the experts, EDC, to help us to get there, I think. If we
By
could,
the way, we do have, Excel's put a new substation in. I'll serve that entire area. So it's not that we don't have sufficient energy out there at the air center or the south part of town, but this substation will provide even more opportunity out there. So, which is good. So just make you aware of that. That's happening. That's already in engineering with Excel.
And that's back to where we, as a community, the county, the city, the schools, everybody has to be working together to take us to the
Councilor Arnold.
level.
So in response to you make a very valid point about not actually labeling north-south. I think that was just my verbiage and I probably could have done better on that. So if we could, from a future point, refer to this as airport infrastructure development or something of that nature, because this is actually, to me, I completely agree. We want our whole community to expand, but the concentrated effort at the airport, but you have the Eastern, you have so much out there on that side. So my apologies, because in my mind, when I say south, I'm focusing on airport, Eastern, Ilea, all the things that are out there. And then I'm all for creating a complete community plan. But at this point, I think it'd take a concerted effort to focus on just that airport area. But because I do see the airport commission trying to create concepts. I think we're talking about new terminal, a vision for new terminals, new flights. All of that being said, we have a great momentum. And so we need to at least have the city side, because if the city's laid it out, and then all you have to do is go to one of your conferences and attract a couple of people and we can start spurring that interest. So I'm just looking at it from the aspect of what is the city's role. And I think it should focus around that airport area.
Well, one thing for sure, we do have to keep it on the table and not be one of these areas of discussion that we discussed it. We'll talk about it later type of thing. Anything else?
Mr. Chair.
Anybody?
Being a county resident,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
would like to
Can we have your name, please?
Rita King Dorhofer. Well, my address
Yes,
to
ma'am.
you, very narrow, unstriped Chicago Parks mailbox, Mark Road. I sit in the county meetings and the county is making a concerted effort to clean up the area behind the Allsops. They're going to demo quite a few buildings out there. They're cleaning up the drug use. They're cleaning up the dismantlers that are out there. They have done that at the last county meeting. So I would suggest that you have somebody who's very familiar with the county, maybe be that liaison with them to find out exactly what they are doing. But they are cleaning up that area behind that new Allsops, which is a good thing.
You're talking about Mike, aren't you?
No, I was not. Commissioner.
I'm pretty sure she was looking at you, Steph.
Counselor Tavern, Commissioner Tavern.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Just listening to everybody talking, it's wonderful to see everybody really wanting to focus on that airport area. And when I think about just general quality of living, I think food is kind of a really important part of that. I think food culture is really important for quality of living. We can bring in all these big box stores, we can bring in Walmart, but what's the culture in that? What's the local environment that can, cause people to use the water that we do have plentiful of here? We used to be a big agricultural area. We used to have apple trees. We used to have all these, locally made crops and that we have made graves, and I think we can expand our views into maybe smaller, more artisan projects, and also just thinking about green spaces and places where people can just go out and enjoy themselves. And I don't see a lot of that around the airport. There's probably reasons for that, but just to share my opinion.
Thank you.
Well, and that's the reason, as much as I personally hate, but we have to do them anyway, workshops. I mean, where, you get people exchanging ideas and opinions and what have you. So Mike.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just wanted to thank Lewis and his folks especially Lewis, for the help with RARA. As you know, we've a bunch of us been involved with almost a year working on this project. But the work Louis and you and your team has done to help us get us some maps and all these things, it's a big deal, and I can't overstate that. So please convey to your team how much it's appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I think that was a good discussion, but we have to move on. So we'll go on to the regular items, action items. Item number 11, lest we forget, who's going to take that one?
Mr. Chairman, I'll do the intro. We do have a group to give the presentation. But this is your first action item. Consider to approve project concept and forward to legal committee for lease agreement consideration for Spring River Corridor Foundation for portion of Cahoon Park. And we have their group here led by Steve Smith. And take it away, Steve.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chair. This actually, as far as legal committee is concerned, it can go straight to council if you see fit, because we'd be using a standard construction lease for this arrangement. So it wouldn't be anything special to consider. Really, the question is whether the city wants to accept the improvements or not.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm Steve Smith. Here with me is part of the Spring River Corridor Foundation, Lori Ruth, and Daniel, who's spoken a couple of times, our past president, Sally Knowles, and also our engineer, who is Scott Hicks from Smith Engineer. And we are here to requesting that the Infrastructure Committee approve the Lest We Forget historical sanctuary garden. It's a location is where the Cahoon swimming pool used to be. You heard an overview of this project last year from Ms. Toll, and now we've formalized all of our plans for that. And the pool area used to be right here. And this was the diving board that's still out there, the high diving board. I'll show you a picture of it in a second. And then this is the street that comes in, Union's back over here. Street comes in and runs to the parks office as well as 4th Street. So for an orientation, you have all these parking spots, second garden here, and then the area that we're here to discuss with you this afternoon. The project would be built at that location. The statuary garden would be a highly landscaped area with historical statuary depicting individuals who were historically important to the peoples of Roswell, in Roswell and around Roswell. Examples of statuary would be the first project that we have in place. The statuary is just about completed being built. And this is called the First Jump Project. These children would be placed, and they're in the process of being completed. These children would be put on top of the old diving board. And once again called First Jump. And it's a little boy on a diving board with his sister egging him on to, let's go jump into the swimming pool. Historically, that's an important part of Roswell, the swimming pool. You can see it a little bit. This little blue area represents our swimming pool. It's front. But nonetheless, it's there. The next project would be for statuary. It's called the Mescalero Apache. It's a bronze statuary of a Mescalero person with a rifle on top of a base with the WPA type stones that we have all around that area would be what the base would be built out of. We were looking at a Comanche Indian, possibly a female figure. You know, the Comanches were primarily east of Roswell, and the Plains Indians and the Mescaleros were west of Roswell. Buffalo Soldier is a piece of statuary that is also under, will be one of the pieces of statuary that we'll build with his horse, or hopefully with his horse. The Plains matriarch pioneer woman will be one of the pieces of our statuary. The Hispanic figure that would represent farmer ranchers for our Hispanic community that have been so important throughout the ages for our valley and our valley west of us. The gazebo, there will also be a large gazebo. This yellow structure here is approximately a 1,200 square foot gazebo that is built to emulate the gazebo that's out west of Roswell in the park area. West of Roswell is called the Enchanted Lands Park. And you can see a small picture, sorry about that, but it's a gazebo covering a slab. And that, like I said, approximately 1,200 square feet of area underneath the cover. And it would be, that project is being financed by partially financed by Roswell Rotary. And then moving along, then the person that is doing the sculptures for the statuary is an artist called, his name is Duke. Duke, long history of statuary. He's done statuary that's in Roswell up at Nemi and other statuary all over the state. Our partnership with Smith Engineering has done all of the planning and the surveying for the area that the project would go into. We have also engaged in a partnership with, or contractual agreement with JHS Engineering. If you don't know Joel Smith, he's a structural engineer, and Joel is a gentleman that has been out to determine the structural, how this, if the old swimming pool diving board is structurally capable of continuing to stand with our little pieces of boy and girl on top of it. He also will help us with the installation of what would be referred to with our pieces of statuary. This, what you're looking at here, is a helical, what's it called? A helical pier. Thank you, pier. And those would be, make sure we don't kill somebody by letting our pieces of statuary fall over on somebody. There will probably be some settlement out there in this area because the old swimming pool was just filled up with the remains of the pool house, cement, and dirt. And it's had over 5 years of settlement and water helping that compact. So the helical piers will be in place to substantiate, to keep our structures like the statuary and also the gazebo from cracking and becoming an issue to go forward. Now, so what I've explained is that this, or I mentioned this was a partnership between the city of Roswell and the Spring River Corridor Foundation, which incidentally is the organization that worked with the city of Roswell. And that's why we have the corridor trail running from the zoo out to west of Roswell now because of their efforts working with the city. Same organization, only their mission has gone to creating destination points along the trail. And that's what this new, lest we forget, historical statuary garden will be, is a new destination place on the trail. It will consist of, the area is, as I mentioned, is a joint effort between us and the city of Roswell, and the wisdom of our representatives, Senator Greg Nybert, Candy Azale, Cliff Earl, and other representatives have provided our community with $200,000 of grant outlay. It's on the list We just have to grab a hold of it and use it for this portion that the city would be adding to this project. And Scott is here to answer questions about that. He's priced it. This area would be new asphalt in here, over here, a 8-foot sidewalk here. We also have a trail that would come off of the highway, the road that goes through the park, goes through the Cahoon Park now. The trail comes right through this and back out, and it will move over and through the garden and back out onto the trail. So there would be a relocation of the Spring River Corridor Trail, which would put it in a much safer zone than where it is right now. Granted, there's not a lot of traffic here, but any traffic can be enough traffic to kill somebody. So that would move the trail into the north side of the, lest we forget, historical statuary garden. This little piece here is kind of an overlay, and you can see the 200,000, and this piece has been priced, as I mentioned, by Smith Engineers and passed on to the Lewis Nahar, who will engage the contracts to put in the new asphalt, striping the sidewalks that would go in here, and that it would be the partnership. Now, the request for capital for this project was $680,000. We put it into 3 phases. The first phase of 200,000, that cash outlay is on the list for us to use for phase 1. Now, phase 1 this money can be redlined by the governor, but March 9th is her deadline to redline it. So if she doesn't, then we have the 200,000 you guys accomplished this part of phase 1. The Spring River Corridor Foundation is bringing approximately $900,000 to the table to do the statuary, the $125,000 for the gazebo, and then there are trees, landscaping, irrigation that has to be put in there. And so all of that working together with the city in a partnership is what we are proposing. So you guys would be looking at new asphalt, curb gutters, sidewalks, 8-foot sidewalks, Spring River Corridor Trail being moved, so WPA historical fencing that would go along this area in here. And that is my 5-minute presentation. And we're glad to answer questions and provide most of this. I brought these pictures. Oh, I didn't mention it. This little boat here in this picture on the Spring River is called the Katy. And the Katy was brought here by, what's his face? Here, I have it written down. I just suddenly had a little brain skip. The fence? Oh, okay. The person I was thinking of was Haynes Dream. You saw a nice article in the newspaper last Sunday. The last paragraph of that article was about the Lest We Forget Historical Statuary Garden. But Haynes was the guy that put the Katy on the river. It was running in 1895 up till 2000 or 1907, I think, so it finally dried up. But we're very fortunate to have on our board Janice Donahue, who is the historian that writes these articles for the Roswell newspaper, and she will be doing our signage or historical information for Haynes Dream, and we'll have a picture of the Katy. The placement of that will be on the face of the diving board, okay, on this stone wall here. You'll have a picture of the Katy on the plaque along with the historical information about Haynes. And then each piece of statuary will have its own plaque of historical information that Janice will develop. So we're very fortunate to have these talented people on our board that's had this foresight that wants to bring this project to the city of Roswell. So we hope that our group here will send this on to the infrastructure committee will send this on to the city of Roswell at their next meeting. And we can then go on with our project. The money, we've been told will be ready by sometime in, it'll be, if we get it, it'll be in September, or it'll be in July, and then it will be issued in September, October of this year, and that's when we can get started with the project. And if you have any questions, Mr. Hicks is the engineer, and along with Lewis.
Let me open up questions from the committee members, if they have any questions.
Mr. Chair. Actually, I have just a couple. So how much of that how much would be expected from the city as far as fiscally? I mean, I love the capital outlay and.
The capital outlay doesn't come, it won't happen. It's 200,000, and that's what was spent. And the listing of how that will be spent, I just left that in that pile. And that's been priced by Smith Engineering.
Just estimates.
And they are estimates, that they have to go to bid. And since the money would be coming to the city, Lewis would put that out to contractors to bid.
So I guess you're referring to the 200,000 legislative grant, if passed and signed. So we would, it has to come to us. So we would put it out to bids. My question would be, because that's what's happening with all my bids, what happens if the bids are over 200,000 in the grant? Who's covering the overrun?
Well, we may have to pull back some till we go to phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a better answer for that.
Well,
and the Spring River Corridor Foundation has its plan for the statuary and the irrigation and the planting and the benches and the gazebo inside the area mentioned up in here. If the city, for example, if the 200,000 goes way over bid, and then maybe you can't do all of this, you just have to come over here and do this part until we go to phase 2. Phase 2 is another, remember we asked for 680,000 in 3 phases. Mm-hmm. Phase 1, the 200,000. So in March or January or February of 2025, we would go in and ask for the next phase.
The clarification that I want to ask with Mr. Chairman of the committee, you're asking for the city, for the engineering department to take Smith's plans, bid it out, and see what we can do for the 200,000.
That's right.
If there's an overrun, we cut it back, whether we rebid it or how we do it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I really don't have a better answer.
Well, I mean, these are the questions.
And I just don't have a better answer.
And then the other thing is, there is no budget. So I would assume this would, 200,000, if it does pass, would go on Parks capital budget, engineering capital budget, but it had to show up on somebody's budget line for the 200,000.
Well, you know, the concern that I have is the part that was brought by now Senator Nyberg. When he presented that park.
The inclusive park?
The inclusive park, that was not supposed to cost the city any money, because that organization was going to raise the money. And then Senator Nyberg was supposed to get some more legislative money, but as it turns out, it seems like it's going to cost the cities some money for it.
Yeah, so far the money that's for the inclusive park has been all grant, except for engineering time and our testing, construction management. Phase 2, we only have enough to do what's called phase 2, half of that. And we have about 600,000 left in the 2 more grants that were issued. But yes, we will not finish inclusive park. And there was no money issued for the 2024 legislative grant. So we're gonna finish, and now it's gonna be phase 3. The money would have to come up from somewhere else. And to further on your question, to date, there's been 0 outside dollars given to the city.
And I'm not a proponent of having projects in phases. And mainly because you do the project as far as the money will take you. And if you don't have additional money to continue phase 2, 3, and 4, whatever, that project pretty much ends in phase 1. Unless somebody else comes in and picks up and gets donations or whatever. That's my personal opinion that I have never really liked projects that you have to do in phases because there is no guarantee that the money is going to be there for the second phase, third phase, and so forth. Councilor?
Mr. Chairman, just a few things. So we get this bill, which I'm all for it. And so our folks are going to maintain it once it is built. Okay? And so I'm kind of curious as to what kind of input Mr. Burris has had on this project since he is our parks guy. And I have not heard his name mentioned at all here, but I would think that he would be somebody that should be a part of planning on this.
I appreciate you saying that, and the park department is involved in it. And this presentation was made to the park department last year. And then I carried this as it progressed to Mr. Burris. So he's well in tune and was very instrumental in placed in the direction where the Spring River Corridor Trail would be placed in the park. And then so the Parks Department, and he is well aware of the fact that this little bit of green area that's in there would become part of the park's responsibility for cutting the grass and maintenance and weeding. But so I didn't bring that to this committee, but it's there. Well, I wish Jim could have been here today, but he's well, and his whole committee or parks group is well aware of this project. So he's on board with it and likes the project.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, as much as it is the foliage, the greenery, the statuary, I mean, I'm going to assume those are all going to be things that we'll have to take care of and maintain. So I mean, I think it's great. The councilors that are here, you should have gotten an email to your city council accounts from Kim Elliott, because he did a part 2 to the recreation book that A.B. Gwynn, who was the original, I shouldn't say the original, but he was kind of one of the guys who got a lot of our park and recreation stuff going and started and had that vision for our park and recreation. But Kim Elliott did a second part to that. And both books have so much history to what our community and our park and recreations and everything are about. And I know that Steve and Sally and myself and others played a lot of parts of doing that. I know I've spent over 2/3 of my life running around down at Cahoon Park Pool, between running it and working it when I was 13 years old, doing baskets and everything else. So I mean, I hate seeing it the way it is right now. And so I love to have a vision for our park area, because Cahoon Park is, in my opinion, a historical park here in the state of New Mexico. And it shouldn't just be a vacant lot from where the pool used to be. I still have a visual on all of it because of all the years of operating stuff there. So, and of course, when Perry was talking to me about this, He said, we're going to have to put up a lifeguard stand and have a lifeguard looking out over.
And you want your statue there.
No, not mine. We'll get one of the girls. We'll get him stuck by to be the one.
Councilor Arnold, did you have a question?
Yes, actually, I wanted to say a couple things. First off, I actually share in that passion for Cahoon. My grandfather was a laborer, and many of the trees planted there were part of that. I learned how to swim in that park when I was 2, learned in that pool. So I have a lot of great memories, and even as a child, I used to play in the area where the fish pond is. So I'm very passionate about that. I do have some of the same concerns that Mr. Nahar has mentioned here, but I think that we can actually be very aware of those and by being cognitive of the situation and making sure we're very clear on that. I do happen to disagree with Chairman Oropesa on phases, because if we didn't do things in phases, then we would absolutely have nothing. So I would take phase 1 over no phase. That's all I got.
Right, really, we went in and asked for the 680,000. He said, if you want anything, you phase it in 3 parts.
Yes.
And we'll see if you get the first 200,000. And they have.
And that's actually kind of the same kind of decision we made in doing the wayfinding for Main Street, because we just picked the big part, the gateway, and then the other bonuses are the people who have the follow through, the grit and the gumption to continue that on, to make sure that we get the actual kiosks and all of the other things that we're planning. But I'm right here with you on that.
Any other committee members have any?
Yeah, Chairman, if you will, I grew up there as well. I mean, I'm very passionate about there. Somebody showed me a picture a long time ago of me doing a gainer off the high dive, and God, I couldn't believe that was me, way back then. And, I see the statue of the kids up there. I'm like, oh, wow, it's heartfelt, knowing about the old ferry and everything, and anybody from Roswell, it has touched them somehow, some way there. But to the phase thing, I built a lot of infrastructure for the state, and I've done it all in phases. That's the only way I could get things done, because I only had this much money, and I had a vision, and visions are what really get you there. And, I see a vision here, and I see sometimes, you have to do it in phases. And I kind of support this. I really like it. I think it's a great idea. And I just don't know where to move it from here. I'm only 2 months into my job here. I'm still learning.
Maybe, Hess, could you explain the standard agreement that we would be doing?
Yeah, so again, so I have one question I just want to put on the record, real quick. That's all right. Mr. Engineer, it's your opinion that the first phase, if completed, could stand alone if there's a.
If you look on page 37 of your packet.
Yeah.
That's a standalone color coded phase 1.
And so in your view, that's not unnecessarily risky?
I don't know. I don't think we can get all of that for 200,000, but it's definitely I could see where you could cut some sidewalk, cut some asphalt and make it work. But look on page 37 of your packet.
Yeah.
And
I know as soon as you start erasing quantities of asphalt and concrete, your savings will jump. So.
Yeah, but I get to clarify, but your view is we can stay.
Phase one is a standalone.
Perfect. So yeah, so from legal's perspective, what would happen is the same thing we do with the pickleball courts. We will form we would just have a contract with whoever it's, with Spring River Corridor, or well, actually, it's the city would be procuring the.
We handle the grant, correct?
Right. So Spring River would Spring River put it to bid, or would the city?
I understand it's part of the lease for the big picture, but.
So it depends how we do it. If we're a fiduciary for Spring River and reimbursing them, they'd put out to bid, they'd get a 1-year construction contract for $1. They hold liability for it. And then upon completion, it's inspected by engineering and we accept the improvements. And then it's ours.
You need to say something on that. Save some money.
Yeah, that's the way to do it without, if we
Yeah,
are,
we just had to check the grant language to make sure that we.
and if the grant doesn't allow that, we would just bid it and then, our contractor would have liability insurance. So that's where I get all excited.
I appreciate it.
Let's talk about liability. But yeah, so it would work as any standard city construction. And if grant allows us to, we would simply be a fiduciary for Spring River so that they could go out to bid themselves.
So based on that, we can't do anything till we see the grant language.
Well, well, so it's, as far as the legal list, it's, if you guys accept it and the council accepts it, we know to put it in budget one way or the other,
Okay.
depending on the grant language. If that, so, because it's nothing, since nothing activates until the next budget cycle, the council has to accept the appropriation. And if the council didn't, even if you guys approved it right now, it wouldn't go anywhere.
And I sat down with Batista and Teddy Lee, and we wrote this application grant together, and it went to Santa Fe and all that, the grant. And so it's available. I have a copy.
Well, that's the grant application agreement.
Yeah, we have to, right, we have to see how the state lets us spend it.
So Steve, what Hess is saying is if you guys can put out the bid, it will save a considerable amount of money since you are not a government entity.
Well, I would be glad to.
Right, and so that would make it so much better cost wise. And Mike is sitting there shaking his head, yes, because when you start getting into government having to do the bid, then typically it goes up exponentially
I was just
on the
told
cost.
200,000 should come to the city and not to the foundation.
Well, it's gonna come to the city, but you guys are gonna be the ones that are gonna do, if the grant is written that way, the money will come to the city will be the fiscal agent, but you all will be the ones that will be spending that, and then it will be reimbursed from the city, but you all will get to put the bids out and get it at a much lower cost.
However, you
Scott, do you understand what we're? So what would happen if we can let you guys do it, there's your engineer that would bid it out, make the estimate and everything else, and then submit it to us for reimbursement, if we could get a notice of obligation to the Spring River Foundation.
What's a notice of obligation?
Saying
Well, you don't.
that you're a legal entity that we can use you to do the work.
And that's what's happening with the pickleball courts right now, correct?
Actually, the pickleball courts, it's even simpler. They're
Yeah,
paying for
their money
everything.
all up front.
It's 100% their money out.
Legislative money.
Right, but with that, I mean, they still are contracting and putting up. bids.
Yeah, they did it all themselves.
So,
Right, yeah, we just gave
it's a huge savings.
Do you know if they just hired, did they just go out and get a couple quotes, or did they put it out for the public bid? Or?
Right.
Private money.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. For us, it was very simple. We just gave them a 1-year lease, and with engineering having to approve the plans and approve.
And we reviewed their plans, and they're okay with it.
So there may or may not have been a bond to the contractor in there?
There's a bond for the contractor. That's part of that was written into their lease agreement.
Yeah, and I think that's why he probably would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, so any lease agreement out of city legal will require bonded work and require at least licensed contractors and a minimum liability insurance. So,
Yeah, we would run it like we did the public works bid.
yeah. So, right, yeah, for us, it just depends on what the language is that whatever department is pulling out the money. Okay, but from legal's perspective, what we would be looking for is that the council right now wants to accept this phase 1 into the city portfolio of real property. And from there, Chad knows to put in the budget, and I know that once the money hits, that we can contract accordingly.
So the extra that we show here is to forward it to legal committee. So do we have men or when somebody does the motion, can they just substitute city council instead of legal?
Yes. Second one. You can substitute city council.
Instead of going through the amendment.
Right, because that's a recommended motion based off of the department, but the actual motion that matters comes from the council.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this?
But just like, one thing, Mr. Chairman, you may have mentioned, Steve said something about the rocky wall. That's not part of phase 1. That was phase 2. Phase 1 is We don't have a bigger, I guess, bigger picture of that highlighted. Lewis was talking about the packets. It's the curb and gutter, the sidewalks, the paving, and the trail. Basically what that is.
Okay, thank you.
No, it's the same one you have, but it's not on the.
Like it. I was telling them earlier, the only thing I wish going to be a bigger.
Let me see if anybody in the,
Yeah, when you go into some of these cities.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. We can only that's.
anybody in attendance have any other further comments?
Trail going through there too. Right.
Anybody on attendance have any comments or attendance online?
Just depends on who's issuing that.
You want to go ahead and?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve project concept and forward to full council for lease agreement consideration for Spring River Corridor Foundation portion of Cahoon Park.
Counselor, if you don't mind subtracting the lease portion, because that would come once we know who's issuing the.
Sure, absolutely. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve project concept and forward to full council for Spring River Corridor Foundation for portion of Cahoon Park.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, motion carried. It will go to full council.
Thank you very much.
Nice.
And so next is item number 12, ITB 24004, the 2024 residential mill and field change order.
Okay, so back to a simple one, residential mill and fill. As you all remember, the bids came in low. And so we're still reaching for our target 1.5 allocated for this budget. We've added the streets that are in your packet. Which one for you? Counselor, just in case you want to know what the original bid was, there it is, and there's the streets listed. So the original bid was portions of Michigan, Autumn Wind Place, Bent Tree Road, Briarwood Place, which they're working on now, portion of 7th Street, portion of Aspen, and a portion of East Forest. And what we're adding here is 24th Street, Davis, Texas, Chartel, and Sherman. Those are between Garden and Main Street to the east. The Roswell Daily Record, probably a good monument. And then we're also adding Nevada from 2nd to 4th Street and 4th Street west to the dead end. So what we're doing, we're adding $394,860.78 to increase PO 2240, 2224 for ITB-24-004 residential mill and fill project from current amount of $1,030,744.84 to a new amount of $1,425,605.62. We're also adjusting the tax. The tax change from 2023 to 2024. I will also note that you'll notice this PO is only changing it to 1.425 million. As I stated, we keep a running total. So when we get to the last street, and we've already decided the last street's going to be Aspen, we'll say we'll go north another block and a half or whatever to get us to right under that 1.5.
And that'll be more tree streets?
Yes.
Love it.
So that's going to have the list of the existing contract, and that's what we do. That's what we do even with the Brazier asphalt. I think that was part of the discussion y'all had last meeting.
Right.
We're keeping a running total, so we're just going to get it up to whatever money we have and cut it off. But we got the guys have to keep day-to-day records, work with the contractor, and we always get a PO for the budget. and we keep it as close as we can.
Hey, any questions, committee members?
No.
And this is, if you want to, you can send it consent or you can send it to full council.
Any questions from anybody in attendance? Anybody online? If not, can I have a motion to move forward?
A motion to go forward to send this to full council ratification of this change order in the amount of $394,860.78 to increase this PO 224-0224 for ITB 24-004 residential mill and fill project from current amount $1,030,744.84 to $1,425,605.62.
You want it on consent?
You said full council.
Yeah, I think full council. I mean, I don't know.
I prefer consent, but
You prefer consent?
Whatever you guys want. We'll make the presentation again.
Consent is fine.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second to send this item ITB 24004 to full council on consent.
I love it.
Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carried unanimously. The next one is ratification of PO to Souter, Miller and Associates for emergency linear repair.
This is the landfill, Abraham Chaparro.
Committee chair, committee members, thank you for your time. Only too short, even though we're last but not least. In September 2023, the liner in South Bay was reached. It was actually already liner is that we utilize as an infrastructure. The water is about 100 feet below the cell at the landfill. Solid Waste has exposed the liner and examined the damage. I do want to note this for the record. The landfill department, our budget, we used $19,000 to expose the liner to see the extent of the damage. Without seeing the extent of the damage, we could not bring Solid Miller in to get an exact estimate on the repair. Estimate has proposed together for an emergency liner repair for the amount of $87,209.27. With GRT, the funds are from cash on hand that will be reimbursed by the funds. Once it's complete, the work started on last Monday. It was completed by Thursday. And we do have a claim number in with the municipal fund now. So we're just waiting on them. Here's an example of the liner system that's underneath the majority of the cells at the landfill. If you notice, there's a 60 mil smooth HDPE that stands for high density polyethylene membrane. There's a reinforced geosynthetic clay liner. This is clay that's infused with concrete as well. So when it absorbs moisture, it turns into a solid concrete semi-permeable membrane. On top of that, you see that arrow at the very top, that's the cushion soil that we had removed, which exposed liner, which ended up damaging it. So this is just a detail in terms of our plans. Next slide. Here's the liner that we found that was ripped. The grade, the landfill team lost sight of the grade. We went too far, we went too deep, and we ended up exposing the liner and destroying the liner. Next slide. Here's the team that came out last week and got everything done within 4 days. Top left, you see them putting down the HDPE, the plastic liner. On the right-hand side, you see them bringing in the engineered, it's not an engineered field, it's a specific type of soil the engineering calls for to cover this within 2 feet of soil. On the very bottom, you'll see the actual soil being spread out. And like I said, the work has already been done and completed. Past engineering, past QA, QC, and we're going to be done. What we're asking for to send this PO ratification over to finance so I can extend to them. So what we're doing, this had to be an emergency repair. All that room right there, we utilized to fill in trash. So we can continue moving on south and west. With that committee, I stand for any questions.
Any questions, committee members?
Chairman, How did we make the mistake of ripping the liner? I mean, what are we going to do to not do it again and so on and so forth? I mean, that's costly.
In that area, it's at the edge of the liner. Do you see where the outfit is on the right? That's the edge of the liner. So when we have a major snowstorm, a major rainstorm, we need to find a flat area so our garbage trucks can drive on, dump the garbage, set it there. When you move it over to the actual working face, you're looking at about 2 to 3 feet of mud. So all of our trucks are getting stuck. So they utilize this as an emergency area to drop the trash. When it was dried up to get to a working face, we transfer the garbage over and cover it. So as they were moving the garbage, they were losing the grade. They lost track of their grade. And that's the only area that it was that. So since then, we moved it. We're building a exclusion zone all the way down from that point all the way to the west, 450 yards. It's going to be an exclusion zone where they're not allowed to be on at all anymore.
Perfect. So you got a corrective action plan.
It's done.
And a new best practice of not making it happen again. So perfect. Thanks, sir.
Any other questions?
Any question from committee members? Or anybody in the public? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, this kind of repair can also qualify for consent. Very similar to the water line repairs.
But I thought it was going
He
to.
wants to move it to finance.
Oh, he's going to finance?
Yeah.
Just want to get one more blessing.
Okay.
So can I have a motion to move this one forward to finance?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
And we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion carried 3-1. And the next one, the last item of the regular items, action item, the skateboard design.
Skate park.
Okay, so I'm asking here, consider update a skate park project design presentation to March 14th, full city council. As you know, we got a grant to do a regional skate park complex. The deadline, according to the agreement, to have the money spent is June 30th, 2024. So we're having to move very fast. We've already had a kickoff meeting, as you'll see in your background information. We had a kickoff meeting between the consultant, BHI, and city engineering on February 20th. There is a public participation meeting scheduled for March 8th, 2024 at 5 p.m. at the what time? 4:30. It's been changed to 4:30 at the library. And city council and staff will be invited if they haven't already been invited. And what's gonna happen, the reason we're asking for a placeholder, so to speak, at council is since the public meeting is on March 8th, council is March 14th. We want to keep the council in tune with what was decided and what was discussed at the public meeting. And the public meeting is going to be two things: formalize the site location and formalize the amenities that will be built with the skate park. But again, we're working on the timeline, so we got to get that approved and agreed upon by city council, so then we can keep the plans and going and stay in schedule, finish the skate park design, get it paid off by June 30th, 2024. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions, committee members? Mayor?
This is paying for the whole park,
No, sir, this is just for the,
and where do we propose to get the money for $4.5 million is a lot.
yeah. Well, right now, Mayor, the $5.5 million is a number I came up with. We want to get the design completed, and then that way we'll have a true engineer's estimate, and then we can see where to ask more money, where to get for a grant, whatever we can. But we just want to make sure that the design meets city council approval.
I can agree with all that. I don't know how much would you propose, what a regional skate park's gonna cost?
I'm thinking $4.5 million. The number that you decided is about right. But again, once we have a true engineer's cost, then we can ask for money, then we can seek grants, and it might be a couple of years or longer before it gets built. But having the plans on the shelf and real numbers, real quantities is to me the logical step that we do right now.
So this is just, you're designing a skate park for about $4.5 million. And the cost of designing it's not $4.5 million.
No, 450,000, which we have a grant already there, which we have to expend by June 30th, 2024.
That's good. Okay.
And then we're having to crash this project. And to crash the project, we want to keep city council in the loop every step of the way. So if there's something that council doesn't agree on, we don't get stuck at the end of the project trying to fix something. We take care of it now and progress.
That's what I know.
Yeah, so this has kind of been a push I think we've been working on for about 9 months on something like that. And this is a community incentivized concept, but I was very clear with them that this is probably planned to work 5 years, planned to wait 5 years, and because they are actually inspired to raise as much of that amount as possible. And also a concept of phasing might be something that can be done as well. But I truly believe the skate park community is in it for the long haul. They've come every month, so they're very passionate about this. And I don't think that they see that 4 million it is an obstacle. It is something that's not necessarily a necessity considering infrastructure needs and all that stuff. But I'm truly impressed by the effort that they have continuously put into being a part of this and pushing for it. So
one thing we want to do is make sure that the amenities that we're building in are the same amenities that the skating community is going around the nation to compete with.
Yeah.
So Roswell could be a site that they could have regional or district, whatever you want to call it, and bring people here to compete and go on to the next level. So that's part of the things that we want to do at our first public meeting. We have a subcontractor, American Ramp, they're skate park designers. And in our kickoff meeting, we want to say amenities have to be true competitive events that will be for regional, for Olympics, whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, it's not a true regional competition. We don't want it recreational. We want it recreational, but we want it regional to bring people to the hotels, to come and eat, to compete, and maybe make a bigger name for Roswell.
And I don't have a problem with that. I just, we have a lot of needs around in our parks. And I understand that. I have no problems with this project. My kids go there all the time and they've been skaters before the line was popular. So I don't have any problems with the project. Before we decide sometimes on how to spend money, it's just like getting all this money that's earmarked from the legislature for $2.1 million to do baseball parks. And yet not one of those wasn't really on all our projects list to me, but there's other parks that need the same thing. They could use Cielo Grande for the soccer fields, could use some lights too. And that's not anywhere on there because maybe they weren't in the chosen few of what people are legislators. And that's about the way it appears, but kids didn't play soccer here until we got Cielo Grande. Before that, they didn't play hardly at all. And now it's probably the biggest sport we have. So I don't want somebody else other than this council deciding that we're going to spend $4.5 million on the park. But deciding the size of it and everything else, that's, we had one design one time for $61 million worth of baseball fields. Could we use them? Yes. But was that the most pressing needs we need in our parks right now? I mean, at that time, we had trains that don't run, we still have a carousel that doesn't run. And nobody cares about the carousel, I guess, because nobody put any money in it. But, so I just want this council to determine where we spend our money and not some outside group, because that's what we're elected to do. And so that's just where I'm going.
And my understanding, Mayor, is the 400 and whatever grant was secured by the skating
They
organization.
did. I understand that.
Engineering turned in the application. But the grant that we're using specified skate park.
Right.
So when it specifies skate park.
For design only though.
Well, construction, but I don't want to go ask for construction money when I don't know what I'm asking for.
Right.
But it said skate park complexes was an eligible item. We went after that. And I agree with the mayor. There's all sorts of pressing items. We want to keep the council appraised of what we're designing. And when the time comes, start looking for grants that say skate park or other recreation that are earmarked for this type of activity. I stand for questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Lewis, I know the pool wasn't your brainchild, but part of the selling of the pool was it was going to be this great competition facility, which it isn't. I mean, it's a great rec facility. It's not a competition facility. Do we have some type of house? I don't know skating. I was not cool enough. But do we have some type of like actual somebody from New Mexico who was a championship skater who's going to look at this too and go, yeah, this is exactly what ESPN is looking for. Or
we have American Ramp, who's a sub to BHI, who build national. They're national. They build them everywhere, and that's one of the things that we had on the kickoff committee. Make sure it's competitive. Make sure it's an activity that they're gonna go get scored on, and you go on to the next level. So
so it'll meet all the criteria.
No, it meets a sanctioned event. You know, and the pools, the 25 meter, if I remember correctly, the Pecos, whoever they were, said they could race in 25 meters.
Well, they can race in 25 yards. There's some other.
The Peters is preferred, they can do yards. I don't think we're either.
Well, yeah, the problem is you can't. Well, yeah. You don't have to get it.
I do want to add this. I don't know if many people know Geneva Martinez. Okay, Ms. Martinez is actually a sponsored professional.
Skater.
Plus we have some Tony Hawk sponsored.
Yes. So a lot of people don't know that we do have some very competitive.
That's why it's important that March 8th public input is to make the laundry list of what we're going to build and make sure that the skaters, I don't know what it is either.
No, that's what I'm.
Have them, everybody agree on this is what it is, it's competitive. And then we want to bring it to council so council knows exactly what we're doing.
But just so in all fairness, just so this body knows, we have a different chairman. I can go ahead and say this today, but because I know the word will never get out of here. But I was at the Black Hawk Brewery in their half pipe and my son was going up and down that thing back and forth, and he went down like that and he fell and the skateboard went up right over the top. And I was sitting in a little high top drinking a beer and I had 4 other glasses on the table with me for the kids that were messing around. And that thing bounced off, that skateboard bounced off my head, hit the table, broke all the glasses of beer. And that's $40 or something, maybe $7, $8 a glass. And man, it hurt.
That's
when that happened to me. So I'm as good an expert as anybody. Don't kid yourself. Don't tell Bobby. Tell Bobby, he'll use it against me.
No, we're trying to be as transparent as we can and go into all the experts.
Any further discussion?
So this grant here is already a secured grant.
Oh, yeah, we already have secured grant.
Okay, number one. Number two, you have till June of this year to complete the plans.
Complete the plans and have it paid off and get reimbursement.
Okay. And we can meet this deadline.
Yeah, that's why
All we're doing is getting a set of plans, putting them on the shelf, waiting for funding.
This right now, this public meeting, March 8th, is probably the most critical one. Get all the items listed and everybody on board. Get the public, say, okay, this is where we want to put it. This is what we want to build. And then take it to council and you guys agree or disagree.
Yep.
And if not, then we got to go back to the public and redo that laundry list.
Any other comments? If not, can I have a motion to go ahead and send this one, and I guess this one can go in consent, right?
No, this will be full council.
Full council. I'd like to make a motion to consider this skate park project design presentation to the March 14, 2024 full council.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. And that's the end of the action items. So we have other businesses. Committee members, do you want a report from the departments, or have you read the reports on the packet?
Mr. Chairman, I would say if any of those people think that there's something that we absolutely should hear from them.
I agree. If there's any department heads that want to share, and if not, we'll go on to what is the next item? Public comments. Public comments. If not, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned at 4:32.
Awesome.